Yesterday it was something like doubts class we have gone, right? Yesterday we have seen like like doubts class we have seen, and exceptional handling also we have completed. Yes, and today we'll try to see the differences between like for each. So we have a concept like for loop, right? For loop is there and batch processing is there. So we'll try to do some samples on this. Okay, batch processing. Okay, so for loop and batch processing. So what is the difference between, but and one more thing is like in transformations when I have tried like inserting records into database. At that time we have used map operator as well. If you have remembered, we have used map operator, and at that time I told like it is just like for looping purpose it will be used, right? So what is the difference between this map for loop and for each loop and batch processing? So even map is also there, right? If map is nothing but in transformations for looping purpose for more than one record. If I want to insert, especially when we are using bulk insert, at that time we identified like a looping is required and we used the map operator. So it is long story short. It is it is just like a for loop only. If when it is there, when this map is there, then what is the use of this for each? So we have separate activity. We have separate activity. If we see it, we have separate for each. See, we have separate for each. So separate for each is there. Then what is the difference between that map and this for each? That at real time, from the real time stand, how this impacts that we need to understand. So yes, whatever is there in the map operator in data weave expressions, it is normally for looping, that is correct. So for example, this scenario will come like when source system wants to push all the records. Source system is there and target system is there, and whatever the source system is sending, whatever that was, for example, source system is sending 100 records it is pushing. So the same 100 records at a time I want to push it to the target system. Okay, so I want to push it to the through mule, we want to push it to the target system. So whatever the 100 records here it is there, these 100 records at a time, whenever it is triggered, at the same time immediately that 100 records has to process to the target system. If that is the case, then we will be using map. So long story short, whatever the records want to source system want to push, the same records will be processed at a time. It is not like processing 10 records 10 records and after some time processing another 10 records and after some time again remaining say 80 records we are processing. It is not the case. It is simply like it is simply synchronizing in the sense we are keeping in sync. Whatever it is sending, immediately we are passing it. So if that is a requirement in the real time, then we will be going for map operator, which is there in the transform message. But definitely there will be a situation where target system may not able to take, it is not able to, whatever the source system is sending, those records it may not able to process at a time. So there is a restriction from the target system side. So for example, yes is nothing but source system is sending 100 records, but the restriction from the target system is it is not able to take 100 at a time. That restriction was there.
Could you share your screen?
Yeah, I'm explaining theory only. Okay, fine, I'm just explaining theory. Fine. Yeah, I have forgotten, sorry. So what I'm trying to say is like map, for a loop, batch processing. So these three differences I am writing. Okay, so source, so 100 records mule will be pushed those 100 records at a time to the target system. And for loop, for each or for whatever will for loop activity, when source system is sending 100 records, it is sending 100 records. Okay, these 100 records will not be pushed to the target at a time. This target system is having some restriction. It is saying like, for example, let me take it as a SAP system. So SAP system is saying, hey guys, whatever that 100 records at a time you are passing, I am not able to take. I want to process 10, 10, 10, or like that. See, after processing 10, remaining 10 I will process later. And again, after processing the second bunch of 10, again I will be taking remaining 10. Like that, it want to execute like batches. It want to process one by one. So there is some restriction. It cannot able to take at a time. It is like installment wise, like 10, 10, 10, like that, few after few it want to process. So if that is the case, then we will be going for each. So here in the for each activity we can restrict. Hey, well, how many records you want, you can restrict that many records. 100 at a time you want to, yes. 50, yes. Not at all. If only one record you want to process, so one request, even though the source system has sent 100 records, one by one, after processing one request you want to process another request, even one by one also we can process by using for each. So that restriction we can, we that restriction we can handle it. The handle will be there in with us only. In that for each we can mention it, whereas this is not possible in the map operator of transform. So that is the only difference. That is the difference between for each and map. Then what is the difference? Then what is the difference between for each and batch processing? That also we have to understand. So for each is something like only like few thousands or at most 1 lakh of records it can able to process. But we will have a requirement like billions of records I want to process. Some billions of records I want to process at a time. In that case, we will opt batch processing support, like it is like more records are there, and we want to process, then at a time this batch will come into the picture. Whereas if we understand the difference between for each and batch, for each is something like sequential. Okay, sequential, it is sequential. Why I'm saying sequential? Why? Because 10 after 10, 10 after 10, it will be processing. Okay, see, whatever the count we will give, that many records it will process. But what happens is, if something has happened in between while processing, for example, ninth record, when it is processing, something has something has happened and error was encountered. Then what it will do, it will stop processing there itself. It will not move forward. It will raise the exception, and it will just hold the thread. It stops execution. So it is sequential. If any error occurs, then we have to just the processing of other records will be holded in the pipeline. That is a disadvantage with for each. So whenever we are going for a requirement, if you ensure like no record will be having any error, if you are perfect enough, like we are perfect enough to understand, like, okay, yes, if at this interface there is no chance of getting any error. Database, what I'm saying is like database, if systems are down and after systems are up, processing, that is something, that story is something different. But database, if everything is fine, if you feel like yes, perfectly, the data validation will not miss, the data will be perfect data. If you are confident enough in your requirement, then you have to go for each. Okay, the only thing is like if any exception occurs, the remaining records which are there in the pipeline, just it will be stopped over there. It will be like just it is a disadvantage with for each. So but we know it, so there will be some requirements like for example, in the real time example, if I say where for each can be used is like syncing the data. For example, .NET system is there, SAP system is something old system. Okay, to old database, till now, till today we are just passing the records from .NET to the SAP, to the old system of SAP. Then SAP guys want to migrate it, they want to upgrade their SAP system, so they will be upgrading from their end. So definitely the database which previously we are placing the records will be pointed to new database of SAP. So definitely we need to have the old records of SAP, whatever are there in the old system. First we have to move it to the new system, right? Otherwise the data we will lose it. So what we will do, whatever the data that is present in the old SAP system, first we will upgrade it to the new SAP system. So at that time the data is valid. Why? Because it is in the old SAP system only, and everything is identified, everything is validated, the data which is present there is perfectly all right. You want to migrate from old SAP to upgraded SAP. In that case, the data definitely we know that it is a perfect data. So in that kind of situations, when data is less, when it is only within the lack of records, then we can go for each. So that is a real-time scenario where we will be using for each. And coming to the batch processing. Batch processing is something like it is billions of records can be processed, and it is something parallel. It is parallel execution. Parallel it will execute. So I can define the batch. I can define the batch, and batch like 100 records. If I am defining the batch as 100, so parallelly, for example, let me take an example of 1000 records. 1000, like 100 parallelly, it will not go with sequential. It will like it as it is a parallel execution to multiple threads will be acting at a time. So the processing of records it will do in parallel. Okay. And the advantage with this is, like, if something has happened, if some record was failed, then in the batch processing we have the capability that we can move that failed record to another step. We can remove that failed record and we can process the other records which are there in the pipeline. So it is nothing but it will not halt the execution. That is what I'm trying to say. It will not halt the execution. It will not throw the exception, and it will not sit quiet. What it will do, whatever the error record is there, it will just remove that record, and remaining record it starts processing. And the one which is in the pipeline, it will start executing that. So that is the difference. So error handling will be bit easy. Error handling will be easy here in case of bulk processing. Okay. So that is the difference between for each and batch. So in the certification questions, there will be a chance like the asking the differences between for each and batch processing. Otherwise, they will be giving like the output. What will be the some batch processing snippet they will give, and they will ask for like what will be the result. That kind of question you could able to see it in the certification questions. Okay. And another good thing which batch processing is, it will give the count in the sense, hey, these many success records are processed, these many failed records are processed. So for example, in the 10 record out of 10 records, if 2 records got failed, then it will clearly state that 8 are processed successfully and 2 are failed. So that kind of information at least it will give. Okay. So but we have to understand when to use what. Why? Because using batch is costly. Only like billions of records, then only you have to go. Otherwise it is like performance wise it kills. As it is parallel execution, that definitely the performance on the API will be counted. So whenever it is required, if at all it is really required, then we have to go for batch. Using loops anywhere in any technology, not only here, either in SOVA or OSB or whatever, wherever you are going for any looping concepts, we should be somewhat conscious whether it is really required here or not. That understanding we should have, and we have to use it. Okay. I think you are clear on the concepts wise, right?
Yes.
Yes, it is very clear, pretty much clear on concept wise. Okay. So now let me start doing some example with for each. I'll try to do. So I'll process only one by one record. I will send multiple records. We will get multiple records, but one by one only I will try to process it. So how the behavior of for each will be there, that we will try to see it. Okay. So for doing this POC, what I'll try to do is, like, I'll get the records from my employee table. Why? Because in my employee table I have a lot of records, almost like hundreds of records are there, almost 100 or 150 records are there. So I'll try to process, what I'll try to do, I'll try to process one by one, or like if at all I want to go with one by one, or 10 at a time, 10 at a time, we can do that. So that example, it is fairly like we can see it. Okay. So let me create a new project. Okay. So yeah, it's slides API. Okay, fine. Let me create a new project where we can I'll create a new project. This is completely a new concept. Okay, so no dependency with previous. So if you want to go with practice, yes, you can go it. Okay, for batch processing. Okay, let me complete this. Okay, this is the thing. First, what I'll try to do, let me check. I'm just opening my sheet. Just I want to, if it is employee, almost like 150, 130 records are there. So at least one at a time. Two, like I'll check if I have some different table. Any table we can use. Even this is also there with me. Okay, unique. Okay, some. Let me check if I how many records I have over here. Okay, I have. Okay, fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 records are there. So this table is nothing but ID and salary. Okay, ID is there, salary is there. So my intention is something like 7 records are there. So two record, one record at a time. I can see we will get 7 records at a time. But if I want to divide 1 record at a time, you want to process, yes, you can do it. Two also you can do it. Okay, so first let us go with, I will use this only. If I use like EMP, it is like almost 200 records. So yeah, definitely I will be running in debug mode, and like after till processing of 150, it becomes like almost 15 minutes we have to hold for only running the application. So I don't want to go with that much bulk of data. Let me have this 7, and I'll try to I'll try to process one by one record using for each, and 2 records at a time also. Then we will see. Okay. So what is my intention here is master sal is one table I have. Another table is master sal backup is also there. So I'll just check whether it is there or not, and then we will see like how our POC we can build. I want to read from one table and I want to place in another table. Okay, fine. So what I'll try to do is I'll delete the records from backup. Delete from. So I'm deleting. See, it is same ID salary only. Okay, but tables are different. I'm just deleting the records. 5 records are deleted. Let me commit the transaction. Okay. Now, if I see in backup table, nothing was there. Okay, but in master sal, some records are there. So what I'll try to do in my POC, I have 2 tables. Okay, first step, I will try to get the records from the master sal. Get the records from the master sal. So you can create the table by only ID and salary. Okay, you no need to like hurry. Okay, get the records from the master cell. Here I am having, for example, 7 or 8 records, whatever is there, those records I will get at a time. So by using, what I'll try to do is like by using for each using for each I will try to we will try to process one record at a time. One record, this example we will see, and we will see with 2 records or 3 records as well. So 2 at a time. 2 records at a time also we will see. Okay, 2 records at a time. So this is the subject of POC. So we will try to process 1 and 2 records, and we will try to push it to the in the second step. We will try third step. We will try to push it to the master backup. Okay, master backup file. So whether one at a time or how it is reaching, how it is processing, we can see live. Okay, the records will be pushed to master backup. This is the master cell backup. Okay, are you clear on this POC? Is anybody is having any doubt? Are you guys are clear?
Yes,
Ashrita
Nitya.
Pooja, you're
Yes,
clear what we are trying to do?
yes, Nitya.
Okay, fine. So ఇప్పుడు నేను ఏం చేస్తానంటే ఫస్ట్ I'll try to get the records from the master cell is my first step. Okay, now let me listener first I'll try to keep, and this is something like for each flow, right? For each flow. Okay, for each flow. And okay, for each. Now I'll try to get the records from it. So let me use the database select query. Okay, let me add get records from master cell, get records from master cell. Two tables ఉన్నాయి just ID salary ఉంది అంతే. Okay, just don't confuse. Okay, so get records from database, this one. Let me establish the connection. Okay, Oracle connection. Let me configure using, okay, where is it? OJDBC. Either we can go for Maven or this is also fine, localhost. Okay, and okay, fine. Okay, this is okay. Select start from master cell. So I will be getting the records. Okay, let me first I will get the records, right? I'll just log the payload after this. After getting here, I will be having 7 records. I will get 7 records. Now, what I have to do first initially, I'll try with for each. Okay, see the behavior of for each. If you see, if you see, counter is already there. So in other technologies, what we have to do is like in Java, or if you have any knowledge on Java or Python, what we will be doing, either in Sova also, if you keep some for each, incrementing a counter is something we have to do manually, incrementing the counter. So if you see the for each syntax, definitely you will observe like after reading at last we will try to keep counter plus 1, right? Counter increase we will keep. See, after recording one record, it has to go to second record. If are going to second record, we will write in Java, we will try to increment the counter. But the beauty of MuleSoft is we will not increment anything. By using this activity, automatically the counter will be the counter will be increased. The counter will be going to the next record is the responsibility of for each. That is one beautiful thing we can see. And here batch size indicates how many records you want to process, one or two or three or four. How many records at a time? 100 records at a time, 20 records at a time. That batch you will be giving over here. That batch we can give here. So as of now, I'm keeping for one only. I'm trying to keep with one record only. Okay, with one record only, I'll try to keep. First, one by one, we will verify. Okay, and yeah. So if you see, okay. Sorry, I have gone here. Okay, let me. Yes. So one record at a time. Okay, and I'll try to keep only logger inside, then we will see how it is behaving. The behavior of for each first we will try to see by keeping a payload. Okay, by keeping a payload we will see it. Okay, fine. Now let me keep it at breakpoint. I'm not sure. Okay, my service is running. Let it. Okay, and let me run my things. Okay, save it. Let me run. Let me prepare this. Okay, I think it is far. Okay, let the application run. Okay, let it run. Let me go to listener. Far. So here I have to initiate with far. Okay, fine. That is fine. Let me check the console. Let it deploy. Yeah, it is deployed. Let me hit it. Okay, it comes over here. We will get how many records. As of now, the thread is here. It is not yet executed. So the payload is nothing. Zero is there. After executing the activity, you will be getting 7. Why? Because we know like 7 records are there in my database. We know it already, right? These are 7 records. 7 records are already there, right? So now in the for each we have given only one record processing. So if you go fast in the for each, see, if I go to logger and see how it is executing, we will come to know. See, come to the logger at the last. If you observe, see, as we have mentioned only one record. So first record was placed, and then second record, third. So that means what is happening inside for the processing is happening one by one in a sequential manner. The that is executing. Okay, 5, 6, 7, last record, right? If at all I am going with 2 records at a time, let me change this. Okay, let me change the batch size as 2 and let me update it. So how it behaves, let us see. First, its behavior. Seeing its behavior is very important. Okay, let it update. The application is getting updated. Why? Because I have changed the batch size. Let it update. Okay, it was started up. Now let me go. Let me initiate the transaction. Okay, it came 7 records. I have divided the batch into 2. Then, yeah, how it is going to execute, let's see. See, it is first record is this one. 2 at a time I have placed it, right? First record, and come last second record. So 2 records. 2 records it is processing. See the behavior. If you are trying to keep 3 at like one iteration, 3 at a time it will process. So that is the difference. See, first record only one we have mentioned the batch size as 1, so 1 record it processed. 2 records I kept, 2 records at a time it processed. So that is fine. Okay, 2 at a time. Again third and fourth. Third will be here. Third record will be, see, ID 3, ID 4. So ID 3, ID 4. Here is the 4. Okay. So how many records we are mentioning in that loop? That many records it is going to process. See, this is how the for each is going to work. But here my thing is, like, I want to insert that into backup table, right? I want to insert it into a backup master cell backup table. So for that case, what we have to do? So if it is 1, for each is not required. If it is 1 record, we know, like for each. Why? Because during bulk insertion, already we have seen. If it is 1 record, inserting 1 record means you can go for insert directly. If it is more than 1 record, if you want to insert, then definitely you have to go with what? Bulk insert. And also we have to write some map function in the transformation. I guess you have remembered with bulk insert concept, right? Bulk insert, I think we have done it, right? So let me see. This is a bulk insert. Bulk insert, last time what we have done in while I am explaining bulk insert, what I told you for multiple records, even today's session also, what I told, if it is more than 1 record you want to process, then definitely you have to use your for loop map operator in the transformation. The same thing here also. Now the same thing we are going to implement, right? Now what I'll try to do, I'll try to keep bulk insert. Why? Because more than 1 record I want to insert. Okay, the database connection is not going to change. This is fine only. Okay, this is fine. Our SQL query, we know the insert query, right? We know the insert query. So the same thing, let me copy, let me paste it in my, while inserting I need like this query, right? So this is the query, ID, salary, values we are passing, right? So the same thing, as we know how to use this query, so I'm not explaining much. I'm just going, I'm placing it, and okay, we are inserting 2 records at a time. That is fine. Now transformation is there. We have to transform the data, right? Whatever the data here we are getting, that we need to pass it to the backup table. So transform is required. Transform is required. Yes. Now in the transform, yes, ID and salary we have used. Why? Because our dynamic parameters are ID and password, that we know it, right? So now here, yes, here it is number. Salary is also a number, but here it is showing as string. It is our responsibility to convert and to set it as a number. That we have to remember. Okay, fine. Before going to that, map operator syntax, we know it. Like this is the syntax. Let me explain it over here. Right. This is map is nothing but a for loop. Payload is nothing but whatever the records we are getting from the master table, that is the payload. And index is counter. We know it. First record, second record, third record. That is how. So when we are going for a processing of records more than one means, definitely we have to go with map operator. So id is a dynamic value, and from the input here the input is nothing but the output which we are getting from this table. The output which we are getting from this table is the output. So here capital id is there, capital salary is there. So the same thing, payload dot id, and we know it. Why? Because it is clearly stating here it is number and here it is string. So if I directly do mapping, like this, right? If I am directly doing mapping like this, what is going to happen? It will take it as a string. But my database is, if I describe this table, it is number, right? If I describe my table, it is number. So it is nothing but, in Java we will be saying like it is typecasting. In mule we will say like it is like we have to do conversion. So it is here, my database column is number, this is also a number, but if at all I am sending it as a string, then definitely the input is not going the input definitely the error will be raised, the record will not be inserted. So we should not keep it as a string, we have to keep it as a numbers. Now we have to change it. Okay, I will change that. Anyhow, let me add this. Okay, and then now I will change it as number. Okay, yes. So here this is the payload index is nothing but counter. Okay, it is counter, it is not going to do anything, but yes, it is just first record, second record, it will give it just gives the counter info, that's all. Okay, so now two records at a time I'm trying to add it, right? I'm trying to add it. Now, as of now, in the backup table, we don't have anything. Try to observe clearly. Now it is time to observe. See, no records were there. No records were there. It is like empty table. Now let me save it first. Why? Because I have changed everything, right? Let me clear this logs and let me change. Let the application bring needs to be updated. Started the application, very good. Now I'm going to send a request. If you observe the records, 7 records we will get, but in the for each we have mentioned our batch size as 2. That means 2 records at a time it has to. If I see my logger as well, you could see id1 and you could see id2 as well. So 2 records it came. Now these 2 records will be transformed. If I see, this message will be transformed, and here in the payload you can observe in the array list you have 2 records. See, first record id 1000, second record is 2000, right? First 2 records it got transformed. Now as we are using bulk insert, it has to insert into the backup table. Now I have completed. So if I go to my database, if I check my backup table, 2 records will be inserted. So this is like live case, right? So how many records you want to process? That many records you can do it by using for each. If you are not keeping for each, if you are just keeping like transfer message, what it is going to happen, what all the 7 records are there, the total 7 records will be processed, will be synced with the target table. But my requirement is not like that. Why? Because I am feeling like my target, I feel like this master cell backup is something like SAP system database, and that fellow is not able to accept more than 2 at a time. Then in that case you have no other option going for each. So 2, now it was processed, now it will go for next processing. Again for each, again it is looping the things. See, remaining two. Now remaining two are going to execute. If I see, if again I will go back, and if I see, I can see third record and fourth record got inserted. That means next two records it was processed. And again I'll just click on next. So another bunch of two records it is going to execute. Again I will see. Again I will check like 6 records. And last record is something like, even though we have mentioned it too, it is like only one record is left, so the transaction is going to complete. Why? Because we don't have two records. Whatever is left, that left also it got inserted into a backup table. So this is how the behavior of for each. So if anything occurs in between, so here from one database to another database, just I am just sending the record. I am pretty much sure, like, okay, this database does not throw the data that is there in the table is a valid data. So definitely there is no chance of getting issue in terms of data. So here perfectly all right to go with for each. Okay, think like if at all, if any exception raised, then think like if I got exception while processing the record, then immediately it stops the execution there itself. The other records will be in the pipeline. It will not be processed. Got it? Are you guys are clear on this? Are you guys are clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys are clear. Fair enough. Okay. So the POC for this for each is what I'll try to do. మీరు ఏం చేస్తారంటే you can do nothing but one POC I'll try to give. Try to get the records. తేండి first. For each also it is fine. Okay. Before inserting. అంటే ఈ ట్రాన్స్ఫార్మ్ కూడా చేయండి. After transform keep one check condition. Choice యూస్ చేయండి. చెక్ కండిషన్. దట్ మీన్స్ ఇక్కడ మీరు ఒక చాయిస్ రౌటర్ పెట్టండి. ఓకే, యూ ట్రై టు కీప్ చాయిస్ రౌటర్. ఈ చాయిస్ రౌటర్ లో హియర్ యూ కీప్ వన్ కండిషన్. ఇఫ్ ఎట్ ఆల్ ద రికార్డ్ ఈస్ ఐడి ఒకవేళ 3 అయితే, ఐడి వాల్యూ 3 అయితే, ఇఫ్ ఐడి ఈస్ 3, చెక్ కండిషన్ ఇఫ్ ఐడి ఈస్ ఈక్వల్ టు 3. ఒకవేళ 3 అయితే try to raise the exception. Okay, and check if at all how the flow is moving. Raise the exception. Already exceptional handling we have done, right? Raise the exception. If other records, if id other than id3 records, it has to process successfully. Successful path ikkadi nunchi vellipovali. Okay, success flow has to go in the default before inserting ఇన్సర్ట్. అంటే మీకు ఈ ట్రాన్స్ఫార్మ్ కూడా ఇక్కడ ఉండదు. ఈ ట్రాన్స్ఫార్మ్ డిఫాల్ట్ లోకి వచ్చేస్తుంది. సో ఇక్కడ నుంచి వచ్చేటప్పుడే, సో వాట్ ఎవర్ యూ ఆర్ గెటింగ్ ద పేలోడ్, ఇన్ ద పేలోడ్ ఇట్ సెల్ఫ్ ఫస్ట్ ఇనిషియల్ చెక్ యూ హ్యావ్ టు చెక్ లైక్ ఐడి ఈజ్ ఈక్వల్స్ టు 3. ఐడి 3 ఉంటే కనుక యూ హ్యావ్ టు రైజ్ ద ఎక్సెప్షన్, అదర్వైజ్ ఇట్ హ్యాస్ టు గో ఫర్ ఏ హ్యాపీ పాత్. ఇఫ్ ఎట్ ఆల్ వెన్ ఇట్ ఈస్ రైజింగ్ an exception, observe if the records which are there in the pipeline are processing or not, which are there, the other records which are there in the pipeline, whether it is processing or not, just keep an observation. Are you clear on this? You got the homework part or not?
Okay.
You got a homework part, right? Try to check the condition. If ID is 3, raise the exception. Else, go for happy path. And observe whether other records are processing or not. Okay. This is the homework. And now, okay, let me remove this. Now, for each I have done. Well and good. Okay. Now, batch processing concept, how the batch processing looks like. First I will show that and we will stop there. Okay, batch processing. So what is batch processing, how that looks like, what that this batch process contains, that we will see. Okay, for doing this, no Pooja, I'm not able to hear you. Hey Akila, Ashrita, Navya, are you able to hear my voice?
Yes, Nitya.
Okay, I think Pooja is having some issue. Okay. Okay. Okay, so that is what. Fine. So yeah, more 10 minutes is left. So okay, fine. Just a theoretical heads up I
Hey,
will give on. Yeah, Pooja, you are able to hear us now?
yeah, yeah, I can hear you. You can hear me, right?
Yes, yes. I think some
Okay.
issue with your mic. Others can able to
Yes.
speak.
What
Yeah.
I was asking, yeah, yeah, I think there was some issue. So in the main condition, we have to raise the exception. You mean like we have to mention the exceptional handling there for the ID3?
Exactly. The here the concept is after raising the exception, will the other records will process or not, that you can observe.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
So you have to raise, you have to handle, even after handling whether the other records are processed or not, you have to check. Okay.
okay, Nitya.
Yes, what you said is correct. We have to raise it, we have to handle it. After handling the error exception, will the thread moves like for other records or not, that you have to check.
Okay.
Definitely no, but like live you can see.
Okay, Nitya, sure.
Yeah. If you handle the exception, try like
Yeah.
okay, you try. I'm just keeping your brain work. Try to use on error propagate, try to use on error continue, try to use like whether you can able to process the other records or not. That is what the intention is.
Okay. Sure, Nitya. We'll try.
Okay, fine. I think 9:22 is the time. That's okay. Only like yeah, let me create a new flow which we can use, a new configuration file which we can use for batch processing. So as of till now I am saying like batch, right? So if at all, if I see like if I click like batch, okay, here you will have batch job, batch aggregator, batch step. So don't go for Salesforce. So just try to understand. See, batch job is there, batch step is there, batch aggregator is there. Just if you drag and drop this batch job, then automatically the batch step will come. The batch step will come. Okay, batch job is the like batch job contains batch steps, and batch aggregator is like something we can manually, you can drag and drop that aggregator as well. See, inside batch step aggregator will be there, so it is interlinked, like see if you clearly observe, inside batch job batch step is there, inside batch step batch aggregator is there, then how it is interlinked with one another, that we need to understand. Okay, that we need to understand. And at last I have on complete. Okay, so long story short, so batch processing is nothing but batch, it is nothing but a batch job only. If I drag and drop this batch job, okay, this batch job contains what, batch step, batch steps. Remember, any number of steps we can have, not only single step, any number of batch steps we can keep. And this batch step again refers to aggregator, batch aggregator. Okay, so what is the link between these three, that we have to understand. Okay, if you keenly observe outside of batch job, if you see, see, it is nothing but only flow is there, concurrency and initial state, whether it is like started or stopped, whether this batch flow is started or stopped, only that information will be there. Inside batch job, if you see the batch step here, click on batch job, batch job. Here it is having the block size. Here we are having the block size. Here what strategy it is going to implement, even that strategies are there, whether it is going for sequential or it is going for round robin. So which one is best suited for our requirement, that we have to go for it. Okay, so it is nothing but these strategies are nothing but whether the records we want to process it like sequential order or round robin is something like randomly we can process or not. That flexibility mule has given. Okay, so this you could see it on batch job. This you could see it on batch job. And if you go outer of it, 7 second outer office is nothing but it is general batch flow initial stage max concurrence. If you click on batch job, like how many records you can at a time you can process and what strategy you want to follow, that is there. And if any failed records occurred, if a zero records are there, means process all the records. The meaning is that if you want to handle any failed records, that means you want to see something has occurred. We are saying like block size is 100, at 60th record you have error. So if you get what you have, what you want to do with that 60th record, whether you want to handle that failed records or not, that you can specify over here. If it is 0, it indicates like don't handle failed records. If it is like -1, it indicates like hey, handle failed record. So -1 indicates handling failed records. If I am keeping 0 means okay, hey, don't handle any failed records. The meaning is that. So 0 and -1, the meaning, that much meaning is there. If 0 means you are telling to your job not to handle failed records. If it is -1, if you keep like -1, you are saying the job that please handle failed records. That is the difference. And in the batch step, we can have, if you observe the batch step here, whether you want to process only no failures in that means, in the sense only success records you want to handle, or only failed records you want to handle, or you want to handle both, you want to process both. So currently this option gives like whether you have to process all the records or only success records or only failed records. Okay, just for now you just observe it. Tomorrow we will do one POC on this. And this on complete, as I said, batch process always gives you the information like how the records it was successfully processed, and the records which are the failed records, like how many records are failed, that information, that statistics it will give. So this on complete will help in giving that. For example, 100 records, here block size is 100, right? In my job block size is 100. So if it is like 90 records processed successfully, as I kept a -1, so definitely it will handle failed records as well. So okay, remaining 10 records, here it will give the statistics. 90 are successfully processed and 10 are failed. That statistical data or statistical information will be given by on complete. Okay, are you guys are clear on this? Theoretically, are you clear? Practically, we will see it tomorrow. Are you guys are okay?
Yes, Nitya.
Yes, Nitya.
Yes. So go for it. For each and batch processing are very important topics. Try to do some whatever I have teach in the class. Try to do a practice along with your homework. It is very important from the real time stand. Okay. Even from certification stand also, like they will give snippets and they will ask what will be the output. Okay. So try like observing keenly. Okay. Yes, Pooja, I'll just I have this. Let me check and I'll share you. Okay, I remember that, but I had to check. Yeah, I was
Okay.
completely occupied with from last couple of days. I'm not able to check my Gmail as well. Okay, let me give some time, 1 or 2 days. I'll just share you. Ping your
Sure.
Gmail on that. I'll try to share it. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So that actually in some other drive I have kept. and that dive somehow I have missed that credentials. That is a problem, but don't no worries, I'll just check it. Give me some time. Okay.
Yeah, okay. No problem. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, guys. Chalo. Thank you. Tomorrow same time. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Nitya. Bye.
Yeah.